Hey, Adam,
Geez,
one
why,
thing.
why do you think they're called bumpers, Gary?
I don't know.
Because they come at the beginning, at the end, like bumpers.
Alex, you're a marketing guy. Do you like that design behind Paul? Does that sweet logo thing look pretty cool to you?
Hey, I forgot to hit the record button.
Yeah, that's really professional, isn't it?
Well, this is a professional podcast.
I met her in a parking lot and was handed 2 little Yorkies. And the only person I knew that knew Yorkies was Paul. So I called Paul and said, Paul.
Sweet Talk is a weekly 20-minute podcast brought to you by the Continuing Education and Workforce Training Division of Idaho State University's College of Technology. Find us on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and SoundCloud, and subscribe today. Now it's time to get started with Sweet Talk.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Sweet Talk, our weekly podcast here at Idaho State University's Continuing Education and Workforce Training. I am Paul Dickey, the Video Instruction Manager and Apprenticeship Coordinator here at Sweet. And as always, joining me is my great co-host, Gary Salazar. Gary, how are you doing today?
I'm doing super. Thank you for the introduction, Paul. Very glad to be here. We got a really good show for everybody today, but this is a little bit different because we're recording this particular show midweek. Today is the 24th of May.
Usually we end off the week by recording on a Friday, but we're doing midweek. And there's a special reason for that, isn't there, Angie?
There is a special reason. We actually have Friday already booked out, and we would like to get this out before Paul's lunch and learn about AI.
Oh,
yes,
you're having a lunch and learn? We got to talk about that.
Oh, yeah. And that was Angie Wilhelm, our marketing director here at Sweet. And thank you so much, Angie. Yes, I am super excited for this podcast today because it's all about me.
Because you are an AI enthusiast. Is that right?
Yes. So a little backstory here is we have discovered recently in our office ChatGPT. I don't know if you all know what that is, but what it is, it's a AI machine language learned program that is available for the public to use right now. Then we have been just flipping out over it. I have myself. I am so excited about this new product that's out that people can use for just not only the workday lives, but for their private lives as well. Now, I don't know if people out there know what AI is.
What is AI, Paul?
AI is a smart computing technology that helps a computer learn and make decisions like a human. It's different from traditional programming. AI learns by itself instead of being told exactly what to do. It can be used in voice assistants, self-driving cars, video games. Probably a daily example of AI that we all have in our house right now is a smart speaker like Alexis. That is an AI device, where it's kind of learned how to respond to certain queries on its own. But that's a kind of a simplistic form. ChatGPT is a much more developed form. And, these machine language learning, what that means is they give it, programmers give it all sorts of data, tons and tons of data, so that it can learn from that data, but also create ways of recognizing how things fit together. A really simple explanation of it is you give the AI program 1,000 pictures of cats. Well, it learns over time what basically a cat is. It knows a cat's about mid-size. It knows it has a tail. It knows it has whiskers, sharp eyes. So when you type something about a cat within the AI, it knows what a cat is. But now if you extend that and give it all sorts of other documentations, including textbooks, lectures that it can find, written data, fiction. So what it does is it starts forming correlations between certain phrases and words, so that when you say, hey, it's raining out, what should I do about the fact that it's raining? Well, because of all the data that is, it can say, I suggest that you take an umbrella. And so it's learned out with this data so that when you put data in and give it enough data, it can turn around and then give you comprehensive data back.
Isn't that what computer programming does though? Doesn't it, you give it questions and it finds an answer? Isn't that the same thing?
Yes and no. Because you're putting data in, but it's giving data back, but it understands the type of form of data that you want. Like if you put, a string of sentences in a computer right now, it just recognizes a string of sentences. With AI, if you use a string of sentences, it understands that those are sentences that have connected meaning.
Okay.
Also, if you query it to output that information back to you, it will know how to output that back. Let's give you a very simple example. Email. Say I want to write an email and I want to send that out to a bunch of people. So typically I will compose that email. I will then spell check it for context, make sure that it's readable. And then maybe it might take me, if it's an important email, it might take me a half an hour to compose that email. With AI, what you could do is put into its prompt, and we'll talk about prompt in just a moment, put into its prompt what the subject is, who your audience for that email is, the important parts, and you would say, this is important and I need them to understand, and put in that language in there. Give it the information and then say, could you compose this email?
Well, that's pretty cool. So if you wanted to, and we were kind of talking about this earlier on, you had a neat experience with a recipe, but if you wanted it to give you a recipe for something and then you wanted to change it, can you elaborate a little bit further a bit on that?
Well, and that's another thing is when again, it has context. It not only just sees it as a bunch of text, it sees it as words and meaning. So say you write this email and it gives you an output of the email and you look at it and it is fully formed email, but then you look at it and going, I want to make sure this is completely understandable. You don't have to rewrite the email. You don't have to put the information. What it does is it saves in a string, what it calls a conversation in ChatGPT. And in this string, this conversation, it remembers the things that you wrote beforehand. So you could take the output of this email and then give it additional instructions to make changes to it. So you could say, this is a great email, but could you write this at a 3rd grade level?
Okay, cool. So
And
then it would do what?
And then it would rewrite your email at that 3rd grade level. You didn't have to put the information in again because it's already within your conversation. You just have to re-prompt it for the output that you want.
Okay. So if I was writing a report for my boss, I would say, this is what I want to do. Can you give me some kind of a suggested structure for this report for my boss? And it would do that. But then if I looked at that same report and thought, hey, this would be good for me to do at a presentation for some high school kids, could I ask it to reformat that same presentation or thoughts for a presentation to a different audience?
Yes, exactly. See, that's the one thing is, again, you're going to give it as much information initially as you can. I find the best way to prompt, and the prompt is the information you give it and how it responds back to you. The tone and the language you set in that prompt will actually structure the response that you get back. So when you prompt it, and when I prompt it in a conversational tone. I even refer to it as chat. I am, and I'll give it information. For example, let's talk about my lunch and learn.
You have an upcoming lunch and learn. Great.
I have an upcoming lunch and learn. For those of you who not know this, lunch and learn is a webinar event that we have once a month where we have people on that will talk about something within the community, something that you can use for business, maybe some sort of mental health standard. It's our outreach to people to get in and provide them information that they can use in their daily lives. I have been lassoed into doing one in June. And then my subject, I picked the subject of AI because I am so excited about this new technology that's just started and it's already going off like a rocket. But for my presentation, what I have done already is I went to ChatGPT and I said, hey, chat, I am doing a presentation on AI. for a online webinar that's going to be zoomed out. The participants are from the community and consists of a diverse group, some with different levels of knowledge about the subject matter. Can you help me create an outline for this presentation? And it does.
So it gave you all the bullet points you could talk about.
It gave me all the bullet points. Now, here's the thing. It gives me all these bullet points, basically this one bullet point, this other bullet point, this other bullet point. But if there's something I see there and I go, like one of the bullet points is it suggests other AI sites. And I go, that's great. However, could you possibly give me a more in-depth description of what these AI sites do?
And you asked that at the prompt?
And I asked that at the prompt.
Yeah.
I don't have to go up and re-edit. I just add it to my prompt. And then it will give me that additional output. Or if I say, could you rewrite it with this information, it will just redo the outline with that additional information in it.
So it's
Now,
like you're really having a conversation then with a piece of software that's got access to a lot of different resources.
right. And exactly. And the reason why I take the conversational tone with the AI is because if I take that tone, I can write it out in such a way that I remember to give it all the information rather than trying to do it in a string of, 1, just write it out conversationally in sentences, send it off to it. And I'm more apt to remember the information I want to give it and the tone that I want it to receive it in.
Wow.
And then it will give me that output. Now, we talked about me asking for an outline for that presentation. Now, here's the beautiful thing here. Then what I can do is then go, this is great, chat. However, I want to give this as a slide presentation. Can you possibly divide this outline out in slides?
So subject areas and then putting them into slides is what you're asking.
Yeah. So what I'm asking is, and then it will divide this presentation into slides. And then after that, after it divides it into slide outlines, I will say, that's great. Can you suggest some images for these slides? And we'll actually suggest images for these slides.
That's because it can't give you images with this ChatGPT.
It can't give me images with this particular one. However, there are other AIs out there that can plug into Google slide presentation and PowerPoint that you can put a plugin that will generate slides for you. So you could have ChatGPT do the outline for your slides, then take those outlines, put them into this other AI, copy and paste, and that other AI can actually generate slides.
Okay,
Now,
so go ahead, Angela, sorry.
So what specifically we're talking about ChatGPT, but what is the other AI that will build the slides for you?
I can't remember that off the top of my head. I think it's Slide AI. I think it's actually called Slide AI. But so ChatGPT is the one that I'm working with. But Google just came out with Bard. Microsoft came out with their AI. I think they just called Bing. And I just heard this week, Apple has restricted the use of AI at Apple because they're developing their own, and they've actually put out ads looking for AI developers. So, I would say a month ago, I just started hearing about ChatGPT, and now it's taken off so fast. Now, we talked about, basically some of the things I used it for, but you can also use it for meetings, because what it does is it has this large knowledge base. So say you were preparing for a meeting and you're getting ready, and it's, a company, you could put in some information into chat, say, chat, I am preparing for a meeting. These are the people that are going to be attending the meeting. The subject of the meeting will be this. And we actually have company representatives from this particular company or organization. Can you give me some topics that might be utilized in this meeting? And
it somehow figures out some good topics for you.
It does. And let's talk about meetings.
Because that's a good thing we do regularly here in an office environment.
We do regular things in office, but right now a lot of people are also doing online meetings.
Right.
And there's this other AI called Otter AI, which
What does
you
Otter
can
do?
Otter, this Otter AI, basically it allows you to link it to your online meetings. So on a Zoom session or a Microsoft Teams sessions or a Google Meet sessions, you can integrate Otter AI, and Otter AI will record the voices of everyone who is participating in that meeting, transcribe them, and then take that transcription and turn it into notes from that meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, once it's done, it will do its AI thinking and then give you bullet points or outlines for the meeting that you just had that are now stored on on the Otter AI cloud system, so that when you go back, you can actually see your outlines. And if there's a particular outline that you want to look back onto that meeting, you can click that section of the outline and it will play that recording portion of that meeting.
Now, the Otter AI is something that listens to a group of people talking. Does it know
Yes.
who's talking when it's doing that? Like it is to say, hey, Paul said this, Angela said this, Gary said this?
No, it does not, because it won't pull the information that Zoom and Microsoft provides. But what you can do is post the meeting.
Mhm.
You look through your recording notes, and it will say speaker 1, speaker 2, speaker 3, and so
okay.
forth. At that point, then as a live person, you can assign it to the first line that they speak, and it will recognize that person speaking through the rest of the recording, and then just fill in the name for the rest of that recording.
So as a person attending a meeting, if I were to use Otter, then I really don't have to take notes unless I want to capture all the things that were discussed. Is that right?
Yes. Yes. I mean,
Wow.
just transcription is a little wonky with spelling and so forth, but when you're referring to those notes later on, you know what it's saying, what it's harking back onto. And you do have the actual voice recording if that's something you want to listen to. Now, again, a lot of this stuff is free right now.
Mhm.
ChatGPT is still what they call beta. And Otter is free for up to 30 minutes of a meeting, but that's the one thing that a lot of these companies are going to do, is they are going to transition to paid accounts. Like I said, ChatGPT uses the previous version of ChatGPT, which has a restricted data source up to 2022, and that is free. However, they have a paid account that is ChatGPT 4 that is up to date, but
Mhm.
that's $20 a month.
Yeah.
And right now
Wow.
they're in beta for the public. That may change as future goes
Right.
on. Otter charges if you want to have meeting times that are longer. I said Bing and for Microsoft and Bard for Google are linked to your accounts. I don't think they're going to have you pay for that, because the cost of that with Microsoft, it's going to be Microsoft 365 is going to be linked to it, which is a paid account already. And then Google, it's they're just taking all your information they can from you. And
Paul,
that's the charge.
this is fantastic. I just want to let you know we're almost out of time.
Oh no!
Oh yeah, we're getting down near it, and I want to make sure we cover a question or two yet, and also
Yes.
let people know that you can sense just the enthusiasm that Paul has as he explores this new technology and where we can use it as a tool. Paul, if somebody had a question, either about the upcoming Lunch and Learn, or about what or can talk to them, or about a question with AI, would you be okay sharing information on how they might reach out to you?
Yes, of course. So probably the best way to reach out to me is probably emailing me a question. That's at my email address here at the university is pauldickey@isu.edu, and that's
Mhm.
Dickey,
Okay.
not a pair of pants. And Angie, did you have a question?
I was actually, it's not as concerning. I'm wondering, with Microsoft Bing, I'm used to that being like a search engine.
Mhm. Mhm.
So was did they combine their AI with their search engine?
Yes. Yes. So Microsoft and Google, well, Google's not so much yet, but Microsoft, because it's Bing, they combined it with their search engine to give it a more powerful search utility. Now, we're nearly done, and we haven't even talked about the risks of AI
Right,
and
right.
the dangers people have. You know, the ChatGPT specifically said it states that it does not keep its information. It's just within that conversational line, and it doesn't share your information out. So when you provided information within the conversation, you don't have to worry about it being shared with anyone else within the ChatGPT organization. And it will only remember it within that conversation context. It won't remember outside of that conversation context. Also, there's been talk about bias, AI bias. Can an AI have biases towards it? Now, ChatGPT, the organization indicates that it has trained it to have this diversity outlook, basically teaching it diverse thinking, awareness, and education of different thoughts and ideas out there, so that it can keep from having certain bias outlines. But it does warn about having certain wording and tones when you have a conversation on it, because it could be, because of your tone and the words that you use, you can lead it in a certain direction sometimes.
Yeah. This is an important part of what I think a lot of folks are concerned with. And when we get to the Lunch and Learn, Paul, I hope you'll get a chance to kind of explore that a little bit more. It's a valid concern by many people, as is, hey, how do we use this tool and apply it towards the good of making everybody better and our offices better? Just thank you for coming on. We have reached the end of this podcast. But I hope it's a good teaser for people to come to the upcoming Lunch and Learn we'll be holding in June, sometime around the 17th, I think, or something like that. Was that right, Angela? Do you remember what the date is for that one?
Yes, it should be June. I believe it's the third week. So it should be right around the 21st of June.
I think
And
that's
yes, I tried on that, because the 21st.
Wow.
Yeah,
June.
I think that's correct.
When we do that this will be much better. I hope we'll have a little more time for go into many of these great questions that we haven't done yet today.
Yes,
and get some more of that enthusiasm from you.
So since this is going to be a Zoom session, on the Lunch and Learn, I'm going to try to give some demos on how to prompt it and outputs, and to show how people can use this on their day-to-day work schedule. Also, it's something that you can use on your personal life too. It's helped me save so much time on certain projects. Again, it's about what type of data you put in, and the type for the data that you want to get out of it.
Yeah, so cool. Angela, I mean, this was a great little podcast to set up. Paul, thank you for coming on and sharing. We are at the end of our time, so we're going to have to start wrapping this thing up, and want to say thanks again to Paul for bringing the enthusiasm and sharing what he has been learning on, in this case, ChatGPT and AI in general. It's a brand new field. It's an old field, but it's getting a lot more attention. It's got a lot more technology behind it. And as people start to learn more about it, I think they're going to become more interested and ask, what can I do with it? And that's what we want to explore too. And you've done an excellent teasing of, hey, this is some of the stuff to come. And I'm looking forward also, Paul, to our Lunch and Learn. That'll be with Scott and Martin, and talking more about this. And then who knows where this goes after that. So thank you for coming on board and sharing that. Angela, thank you also for spending the time with us. Great questions, good follow-ups in here. Paul, unfortunately, I think it's time to wrap this one up.
Yeah. I have to wrap up my own podcast. So if anyone wants to go to our website and check out the offerings that we have, you can visit us at cetrain.isu.edu. You can email us and inquire about any offerings that we have at cetrain@isu.edu, or give us a phone call at 208-282-3372. And if you like this podcast and this content, please like, subscribe, share. We would appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you, everybody. Everybody have a great rest of the week, and be safe out there.